Hello. It is Chanel from NINKI Content Marketing here, and I've just wrapped up a batch of content for our clients, and I thought that it would be a really good opportunity for us to let you in behind the scenes to show you what a batch of content actually looks like. Before I do that, I thought I might just let you in on the process that we take before we actually get to this point. So when a client signs up, the very first thing that we do is have a welcome / kickoff call / strategy call. That's the opportunity for us to get as much information from them as possible to create the content. And part of that process is not just understanding the business, the products and the services, but understanding what their business goals are. Because social media is part of their marketing, it's really important that we understand what their business goals are so that we can tweak this section of their marketing to achieve those business goals. So these calls can go on from anywhere between an hour and 4 hours, depending on how big the business is or, depending on how many questions they have. But a lot of our clients find it really, really helpful because they learn so much more about their business and what their unique selling points are and who their competitors are. So it's really like a strategy workshop, but in that process, we're also gathering information to make their content. Our social media packages, our premium social media package includes reels and stories and feed posts. And then it also includes community growth and community engagement. So that's actively engaging with the community, replying to comments, replying to messages, all of that kind of thing. So what I'm going to show you today is what a finished batch of content looks like on the client side once we're done with it. The only thing I'm not going to show you is reels because those are still in progress, but I'm going to show you what the feed posts look like and also explain a little bit of the inner workings and the complexities that actually come with creating content, because it may seem like it's quite simple to just chuck up a couple of posts, but there's a little bit of a strategy behind what we do. So hopefully you can see my screen and you can see that we're in Google Drive, which is what we use for 99% of what we do. So a client will receive a batch of content that's got subfolders. It's got stories, reels, and feed posts. And you guessed it, of course, the client can then find their feed posts, reels, and stories in the appropriate folders. So let's start by going into feed posts. So our premium package has 12 feed posts per month. So you can see we've got individual folders for each post. And if you go into there, you'll see the individual images that we choose to use for each post. Now, sometimes it's just one image. Sometimes it's a carousel image. We do find that carousels tend to perform well. So we've got a couple of carousel posts in some of these as well. And then you'll see a document that's got the captions that will go with those posts. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So we actually create two different versions of the captions. We create one for Instagram and we create one for Facebook. Why, pray tell? Why do we do that? So with an Instagram caption, you cannot have a clickable link in the caption. So if you're wanting to take somebody to a specific link, you will say link in bio because you can't put a clickable link in the caption. Whereas with Facebook, you can. So there we'll put the actual link. I don't mind the way that the links look here, but if you want to make them a little bit shorter, you can put them into Bitly. The other reason why we have two different versions for Instagram and for Facebook is because the tags may be different on Instagram to what they are on Facebook. So for example, here we've got one tag, but that's different to what the tag might be on Facebook, or they might not have a tag on Facebook. And I personally don't like the way when you publish something on Instagram, it automatically publishes on Facebook, but it's got the wrong tags and then they're not clickable. So very often we have to go back into the content and edit the post that's published to add the correct tag on Facebook. The other difference between the two, aside from the links and the tags, is also the hashtags. So Instagram can have a maximum of 30 hashtags, whereas what we've found personally, and again, test for yourself to see what works, but on Facebook, it's better to have fewer hashtags. So what we end up doing is we write the caption, but then we tweak it for each platform. Generally with Facebook and LinkedIn, you can have the same sort of thing. And then for Instagram, it'll look different. So those are the feed posts. Then if we move into stories, you can see that we've got different sets of stories. Now, this is also where it gets a little bit tricky. The size of a story is different to the size of a post. So if I jump back into feed posts, you'll see that we've got the size of the image either in a square or as close to a square as possible because we actually crop it when we schedule the content in our favorite social media scheduling tool later. But if you go into our stories, one of my biggest bugbears is when people try and put a photo that's like that into a space that's like that. So we have to basically resize all of the photos to fit the size of a story. The other thing is that a story is a story. So generally we don't just want one frame. We want to entice people to keep tapping. So we generally have quite a few photos in there. So for example, here we've got this photo, which has been resized. We've got this one. Ooh. And then we've also got this one. The other thing that we have to add to these stories is the text that we want our marketing coordinator to add when she publishes them. So you can add text into stories, and it's better to add text directly from Instagram because then it can be scanned by the algorithm. Whereas if you baked the text into the actual visual, it wouldn't be detected by the algorithm. So we have to paste exactly what we want the text in the story to be. We also have to specify who we need to tag. And that's really important because if we tag the performer, they'll get a notification to say, oh, somebody's tagged me in a story, somebody's tagged me in a post, and then they will share that post. So going through that process of finding the right tags, making sure you add the right tags is a very important part. The other thing is that for this, we want to drive ticket sales. So we want to make sure we're using the link sticker, and then we're going to have the URL that needs to be added to the back of the link. So this process can take anything from 2 to 4 hours, depending on how much content needs to be created. It generally takes longer the first time we start working with a client because of the fact that we're still getting to know their business and we're still collecting all of their appropriate tags. We've got cheat sheets for things like this, especially events where we've got a list of all of the regular tags that we need to use so that we're not sourcing them fresh every time. So that's another part of our process. So yes, I thought that would just be really good for you to see what a batch of content looks like and how we prepare it for our clients. And once we've sent this to our clients, there's an editing process that occurs. And we always say that the editing process is very important, obviously because we want to get feedback, and it's a very normal part of the process. So sometimes we send content, we nail it, there's no edits needed, but in other instances, there may be some tweaks that need to happen. The great thing about Google Docs is that you can actually just leave a comment with the change that you want made. We'll get an alert to say that that's the change that you want. We'll jump in, we'll make that change. Once the content is approved, we then go into later. Again, best social media scheduling tool. I cannot recommend it enough. And we schedule all of the content, which I might show you now. So here is a little sneak peek of later. So here's all of our different platforms at the top. And then you literally just drag and drop your content here, and then you drag and drop it into the space here where you can add your caption. I might do a separate video on later, but this is what later looks like, and it's absolutely fabulous. So once the content is approved, we then log in here, and then we have to make sure that we take the correct content for the correct platform. So we've got to make sure that we don't accidentally put the Instagram caption in the LinkedIn post or the Instagram caption in the Facebook post or vice versa. We have to make sure that we don't accidentally schedule a story as a feed post or vice versa. So it's quite the time-consuming process. And of course, if you're doing your social media yourself, you might do it on the fly. But if you're hiring somebody else to do it, clients want to receive a batch in its entirety. Imagine if we were managing an account and we were just posting on the fly, you would be approving a piece of content every single day. So there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to create a batch of content that the client can sit down, they can approve it once, and then it just runs like a well-oiled machine for the rest of the month. So a bit of work up front, but then once it's all scheduled in later, then we spend the rest of our time just managing the community on social media. I hope that was helpful to see what happens behind the scenes here at NINKI. Always happy to take any questions, or if you need any help with your social media, do let us know.